Hope all is well.
Hey there.
Hello, Miriam.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you? How's everyone doing?
Good, thanks.
Good. So,
Sure.
are we to do another cycle of introductions like we normally do? I mean, are we doing the same thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Frank, the way it works is the co-sponsors who organize this, the co-hosts, usually each one get to talk about their organization, what's this and why we're doing this. So that takes usually, I don't know, anywhere from a few minutes to 10 minutes, depending on how Lily is chatty.
Perfect. Yeah, I've done a bunch of these before, so I get the whole gist. I see I can share my screen and I have my presentation ready to go. So whenever you guys cue me in, I'm good. I'm going to hold questions till the end of the presentation because my presentation is pretty long. And I might answer some of the questions that people have as I'm going through it.
So when people ask questions, they might use the chat.
Yep.
So if I see there's a question in the chat that might be relevant, do you want me to tell you, or you should just wait and
Just wait till the end. We'll go through the chat questions. I would tell them if they have a question, put it in the chat, and then I'll go through the chat questions at the end. And then when I'm done with the chat questions, I'll say anybody else have any questions that aren't in the chat.
Perfect. Okay. So more things to check in with you, Chris. For the next presentations, do you want this to be held at the same time, even though it's a recording? Or
I think we'll just announce next time will be a recorded one. If it recorded's okay for the presenter,
we'll just send it to them?
we'll just say next one will be a recorded one that I'll be emailed on that date. And then I don't know if anyone got a chance to look over. I put together a save the date for the 16th.
Yes, it's beautiful.
Is that okay? Is that okay with
It
you
looks
too?
great to me. I mean, you don't need you don't need to know how many people are going to show up?
I think what we'll do is send out a registration with the next video. When we send out the video for the second.
Right.
Sylvia, was that okay with you to save the date?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Oh,
I got
I'm sorry.
cut
Oh, I sent out a draft of a save the date for the mixer on the 16th.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I saw it.
All right. Yeah. I need the library. We would just the library would take care of refreshments for that, and we would just people have the opportunity to meet and greet each other and meet and greet anyone from the any of the organizations that would be able to attend or show up.
Okay, so this is also our last time before that event. So how do you want to handle those who want certificates? Should we ask anyone who wants certificates that have been there all well, anyone who wants certificates to let us know, because some people may not care. They did in the 6 sessions that they don't care. And then I guess we should send that after June 2nd, right?
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll email everyone. Please, please indicate if you would like a certificate. And then, what we'll do, I don't anticipate we'll get everyone saying yes and stuff like that. And what we'll do for each person is check their attendance records if they say they're
Yeah, I've been
getting one.
keeping track. I
Yeah.
went back today and I looked at whomever's filled out those, self-eval questionnaires.
Yeah.
We should put it in, I'll email you something on June 1st or something, and then we can look at that. How's that?
Sure, that sounds good.
Okay.
I'm actually going to be out of office next week, just so you know. But
You have what?
I'll be out of office next week.
Me too.
But I'll be back the week after.
So next, yeah, that's fine. But June 1st is after Memorial Day. So
Yeah, no, I was just letting you know if in case you try to reach me next week.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Enjoy
heads up.
wherever you're going.
Oh, it's a staycation, but it'll be a good R&R.
It's nice to sometimes
Yeah.
not go anywhere.
Yep.
So, Frank, the attendance has varied from anywhere from 10 to 30, whereabouts.
Okay.
So, we'll see who shows up tonight.
Yeah, we currently have 4 in the waiting room. And Miriam, are you okay if after the introductions, I make you host and excuse myself?
Sure.
Just because we are a little bit short-staffed tonight, so I gotta get back on the reference desk when I can.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
I'll manage the buttons.
All righty. Thank you. So I think what I'll do tomorrow with the recap email is I will send out links to all the videos so far, all the surveys and all of the questionnaires, and just be like, if you're interested, please take care of this now. And I'll send out the save the date to everyone tomorrow. too.
Right, and I sent you the email.
Yes, yes, the text. So I'll just include the other in there.
Perfect.
Thank you so much. It's been a big help.
You're welcome.
Well, I can start admitting people whenever works for everybody else.
You can start admitting people. We don't have a lot of time. I'm going to be as brief as possible. I'm not going to be my usual chatty self. And next week I'll be going to a graduation for my grandson.
Oh, congratulations. Seton Hall?
Seton
Oh, that's a
Hall.
great
He's graduating.
school.
Thank you. Yeah, it is. And he's doing very well, thank goodness. And everybody's doing good. Families coming from all over. So yeah, I'm going to be a busy, busy person.
Wonderful.
gonna be
So,
fun.
Lily, you can take as long as you want because this is a longer session than usually. It's 2 hours. I mean, Frank has got a big presentation, but I think you have plenty of time.
Frank's going to need his time. I'll be brief and yes, he's going, because when people ask questions, I don't want to be holding them up. Oh, dang, send them an email, then ask them then. No, I don't want to do
Yeah.
that. That's not nice.
Oh, I wanted to, I don't want to forget to tell you, Chris, that even the woman who's doing the recorded session said that she will provide her email. Anyone has questions afterwards can just email her, which is
That's-
really nice.
That's great. I wanted to say, I really thought the last session was pretty innovative. The format was kind of cool to change it up a little bit with creating connections.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
yes.
All right. So I'm going to start admitting everybody.
Thank you.
All right. And Frank, I'm going to spotlight you for the presentation.
Okay.
All right.
Well, you want to put yourself first, Chris, so you can introduce.
Oh,
it.
okay. Yeah. Sorry.
That's okay. Late in the day here.
Yeah. Greetings, everybody. Hi, my name's Chris Morgan. I am the adult programming librarian at the Newburgh Free Library, and welcome to Small Business Bootcamp. Small Business Bootcamp is a collaboration between the City of Newburgh and the Small Business Administration, taught by the Mid-Hudson Small Business Development Center. And tonight we have a guest speaker, Frank Carrao from the Active Web Group. Just to let everyone know, this session is recorded. And if you can't watch the full presentation, there's a recording that will be emailed to everyone tomorrow. And also a reminder that we are offering a certificate for this session of Small Business Bootcamp. So if you have watched or participated in all the presentations, or if there's some that you haven't done yet, there's going to be questionnaires sent out tomorrow that you can take in order to get a certificate of completion. I'm gonna hand things over to Sylvia Rivera with the Small Business Administration.
Thank you, Chris, and hello, everyone. My name is Sylvia Rivera. I'm an economic development specialist with the Small Business Administration. This whole webinar, all these whole series have been facilitated by a co-sponsorship agreement that we have with the City of Newburgh. And our good friend Ellen Philo would be here today, but she will probably be on by phone. Unfortunately, she's not here yet, but we can't wait because this is too important. We have some wonderful news for you. We have Miriam Bouchard of our Mid-Hudson Small Business Development Center, who is also here with us today, who has brought us a wonderful person to come and share this presentation with you. Miss Miriam, if you would.
Good evening, everyone. For those who are new, the Small Business Bootcamp started about a year and a half ago, and all the recordings are on the Newburgh Free Library website. So if you missed if you will look at sessions of what happened last year, we've had guests. There were a lot of presentations about a variety of topics that can be interesting, whether you're just thinking of starting a business or whether you already have an existing business. In addition, this series, in addition to being in partnership with the Newburgh Free Library and the City of Newburgh and the SBA, the Orange County Chamber of Commerce is also one of our co-hosts. The Small Business Development Center is funded by the Small Business Administration and some state and local funds. And as a result, it allows us to provide no cost, means free to you, one-on-one confidential business consulting to new or existing businesses. So even if you're just thinking about starting a business and you don't know where to start, you can have an advisor assigned to you. The Mid-Hudson region covers all these 6 counties of the Mid-Hudson. We have as many satellite offices and advisors to serve you. Additionally, in New York, we advisors have access to business librarians that can do research on behalf of our clients. So if you're in the middle of writing a business plan, or you have an existing business and you're doing an expansion and you need data that is not available on the internet or to you, we advisors, as your client, as a client of ours, we can ask our librarians to do research on your behalf, and that there's no cost for that either. There's a long list of services we can help you with, whether you're looking for marketing or funding or doing projections, feasibility analyses, writing a business plan, having HR issues, and so on and so forth. The list is really long. You can, you will have received in the email tomorrow the information on how you can reach us. Without further ado, Frank was right here. Now I don't know where he went, but Frank he's right here. Okay. He's going to take over and give his presentation.
Very odd, my video just went black. Give me 2 seconds if you don't mind. I'm gonna X out and X back in, come back in. This way you guys can see my my smiling face. Sure what
Yes.
happened there.
That would be wonderful. Also, Ellen is on the call, but she cannot unmute from her phone because she has no access to the computer at the moment.
Frank will be asking everyone to please write your questions in the chat so that we can address them right after his presentation. That's the way he'd like to work on this for tonight. So when you have a question, so you don't forget it, write it, go immediately in the chat, and write it down so that we can address it later. Additionally, it's so important for you guys to give us basically your feedback. So after the presentation, you will receive tomorrow a link to an evaluation. It's literally a 10-second survey, but it's really important for our sponsors, the SBA, to know that people have given us their thoughts, whether they liked it or not, and why they did and why they didn't, and so on and so forth. And that's how we know also what to create in terms of curriculum when you write what you'd like to learn about. This has really helped us curate the presenters for this season, and we'll do the same for next season. So please, please, please do the survey that you'll be getting in the email tomorrow. Thank you. And now we're going to see our friend Frank.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining me. My name is Frank Correo. I'm from Active Web Group in Hauppauge, New York. I'm going to share my screen now, and we will get started here. Got a large presentation. Okay. All right. So my presentation is on setting up your web store. So we're going to go into the ins and outs of what to look for when trying to set up number one, a website, but also an e-commerce website, as we call it in the trade. So we're going to look at the different platforms, the free platforms, the ones that might cost a couple dollars, and the ones that might be a little more robust and more expensive. This way you know what might be your best avenue to go down. We're going to look at some of the things that you should be looking into as you build a website, so you're saving time, energy, and money as you get started, and it's not something you have to think about down the road. And we're going to look at some exit points in terms of how do I get traffic to my website. Okay, so this is setting up your web store, and again, I am Frank Correo. Now, the first thing I always ask when I have a client that's interested in building a website is the first thing I always ask them, why do they need a website? What are you interested in doing? What do you need to accomplish to get to your business goals? Of course, everybody's getting in the business to make dollars and cents, right? So that is a clearly defined goal. But if you are looking to sell merchandise online as an e-commerce provider, where are you looking to sell? What are some of your competition? Who else is selling the products or services? As you're developing that, and as you're developing looking at some of your competition and how their websites interact and how they sell stuff, you're going to start to think about things like fulfillment. How do I fulfill orders? How do I ship orders? These things can be pretty robust and complicated, especially when you're first starting out. So I would say, why do you need a website? Why are you trying to get down the rabbit hole of building a website? So once you know why you're trying to build a website, I'm trying to build a website because I have X amount of customers in my market. I have a tangible location, a physical location address, but I want to reach consumers all throughout the United States with some of my products and services that are unique, right? Okay, great. Now, who is your target audience? Who are you trying to reach? Are you trying to attract a business owner? Are you a B2B, a business to business operation, in that you sell something unique in the business industry? Are you a B2C, a business to consumer? You sell shirts and hats, for example, and you're trying to reach a target consumer with a specific lifestyle brand in mind. So you have to start to figure out who your target audience is. And as you start to build that out, you'll define a specific persona for your audience. So my typical audience is a male and female between the ages of 18 to 34 who might be interested in getting an education because I'm selling online courses. That's something for you. It could be something else. It could be I sell books for new parents, right? So you're looking at a target audience between the ages of, let's say, 25 to maybe 40, male, female. So knowing who your target audience specifically is and some of their needs, where they might be seen, what they might be looking for, it's going to be important to you to define what kind of website you need. Okay, now we're going to get into a lot of jargon here. And I talk fast through this jargon. I'm going to try not to. But there are a lot of terms, a lot of acronyms that are said in digital marketing and marketing in general that you might not readily know. And we could save this for the end. I'm going to hold questions for the end, but there are definitely a lot here. I'm going to talk through them as I'm saying them, and I'm going to slap myself if I if I say one and I don't give you a definition. Okay, so KPIs. KPIs are your key performance indicators, right? These are your measurable factors that tie into your business goals or needs. Okay, so first I asked myself, why do I need a website? Who is my target audience? What are my KPIs, my key performance indicators? How am I measuring on my website success? For an e-commerce website, I always say that's simple. And really what that is how much money am I making? Revenue in, revenue out. When you're dealing with a lead capture email website, right? So a lead capture website is someone goes on my website, they fill out a form because they're interested in my consulting, or they ring the phone as a goal completion. Those are a little bit trickier to manage and gauge success because now you have to find the path of sale, right? So they filled out a form. We made our first contact X, we made our second contact Y, they then closed, the sale closed, okay? And that set show close might happen, 3 months down the line, which makes it a little tricky to track and measure and gauge success. Whereas e-commerce is a little bit easier in that regard. Someone clicked on an ad, I spent $100 with Google, I had 10 people click on the ad, those 10 people converted on the website. When they did, they bought $5,000 worth of merchandise. And then as you could see, you could start to learn what your return on investment is depending on your COGS, your cost of goods. So KPIs, measurable factors tied into your business goals, key performance indicators. Again, for you guys, it's products being sold here in our discussion today. Okay, so to go over this once again, because there are two different types of sites generally. One is a lead generation site and the other is an e-commerce website. So your lead generation websites are form submission websites, okay? These are contact forms, request to quotes, call me today, call me now. These have unique CTAs, call to actions, in place for getting leads, okay? Generally lead inquiry site. Clicks, calls, sessions, how many people are visiting the website, how many people are coming back to the website. Cost per lead, this is going to be important for you as a KPI. So how much does it cost me to acquire a lead in my advertising efforts? When you're talking about an e-commerce website, it's a bit different, okay? So you're interested in things like conversion rate, your CR. So how many site visitors are converting into customers? If I have 100 people visiting the website and only 5 of them convert, this might tell me a couple things. One, maybe my marketing, I have a mixed marketing message. So people are visiting the website, they clicked on an ad, they don't find anything visible from that ad, any messaging, Black Friday, save 50%. I get to the website, it says nothing about Black Friday. I may be confused and I may click off of the website. So knowing what your conversion rate is will be helpful in determining what might be potentially wrong. My shopping cart abandonment rate. So these are people who visit the website, but then quickly jump off. They get to the cart area, they see how much it is, but then they leave and they don't make a purchase. Now, there are things you could do for shopping cart abandonment. You could send an email. You could do remarketing or retargeting ads. So there are ways to get people to convert. I'm sure you've seen them. Don't forget what's in your basket. Save 25%. They give you a coupon code. So these are things to consider. Your shopping cart abandonment might have something to do with the cost of shipping. I see that a lot because the cost of shipping has gone up dramatically. So if you're selling a $5 item and it costs $15 to ship, a lot of people get turned off by that and they X out because the shipping costs more than the product. So to recalculate, what I typically do is pad part of the cost of shipping into your product itself. So make the product, $12.99 instead, to make the product look like it's more money than the shipping. There's a lot of fudgy math you could do there and should be done to avoid people Xing out because of the shipping rate. But either way, you want to look out for your shopping cart abandonment. Your average order value, or your AOV. This will be important for you. So out of all the consumers who purchase products, what is the average basket or average shopping cart order? On average, people spend $110 per purchase every time someone buys something. So they're buying 5 hats, 3 shirts, whatever it is, that's the average order value. So you know what your consumer value is on average when you visit the website. This will help you spend when you're trying to come up with an allocation on marketing to acquire a consumer. So your average order value is going to be important to you. Your customer lifetime value, your CLV. So your customer lifetime value and retention, sometimes it's important, sometimes it's not when you're thinking about e-commerce. You have a lifestyle brand, you might have a customer lifetime value. If you're selling one unique item that you might not get a repeat customer, then that's different. Good example would be subscription services. So HelloFresh has an average lifetime customer value of about 10 weeks. They know this. So in week 7, they're starting to send you coupons and things again. Or sending you refer friends. So this way they could branch out while they still got you. That's no mistake about that. They're well aware of their analytics and how their consumer life cycle works. So knowing how your customer life cycle works will help you decide and determine what to do and what kind of messaging to say and how to trigger different responses at different times for your consumer. Remarketing ads is a good example of this. Again, those are those ads that follow you all around, all throughout the internet. After you're like, oh, let me see how much a unicycle costs. And then the unicycle's following you all throughout the internet. So things to consider. Okay, now we're going to talk about platforms. And what I mean by platforms are different systems to build a website on. Now, there are many different platforms. No 2 platforms are created equally. Some cost more money, some cost less upfront. Some cost a lot more to build, and then they're going to cost you less down the road. And then some are going to nickel and dime you $10 a month, $20 a month for a subscription fee instead. So you first have to determine, how long am I considering having this website for if I'm to get started and to make an investment? If it's longer than a year or 2 years, then it's something to consider. The secondary thing is updating, upgrading the website. Time and time again, I see I'll have clients, new clients come to me. Someone else owns the website. So they're working in the CMS or customer management system. And they're working in that, and they built the website through that, right? But the CMS owns the website. They don't own their own website. So when they part ways with that company, they don't have a website. So it's going to be important for you to own your website regardless of what you do. So this way, if you choose to move off of it and move to a different platform, you'll find yourself successful still. Okay, these are the freemium ones. I call it freemium because they may have some kind of inherent cost, but essentially, they appear to be free. Some actually are free, some aren't. I'm going to get into it in a moment. The pros of them, they're great for hobby websites. So if I'm just starting a small business and I just knit things, I knit scarves and sweaters out of my house, maybe this is the way to go. They're easy and quick to publish in a lot of senses. So you can quickly build and put together a website. Might not be the prettiest website, it might not be on brand, it might not be cohesive, but it's still a website. Fantastic. I could do it with minimal effort, just dragging and dropping some stuff. Again, they have that simple drag and drop CMS, a lot of them. So you could take them and you can start dragging and dropping images and things of that nature with knowing minimal to no programmer coding. They offer a lot of these just email or virtual support at best. That's the thing when you're dealing with the freemium ones. There's never anybody to speak to get something done. Something to consider if you have a unique problem that requires a unique solution. You sell, you're in the fitness industry and you sell meal plans, right? And these meal plans have different variables. You know, some are $10.99, some are $8.99, some are $5.99. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then they all have different calorie requirements. And then your clients, when they come on, they have takes one person's 2,000 calorie diet, the next person's 1,800 calorie diet. Someone's trying to lose weight, someone's trying to build muscle. So there's variables there, right? When you have those variables, these things can't be put into place with a lot of these freemium websites. Or if you have, you sell stuff on demand and things go in stock and out of stock. Good example would be the knitting thing. Why a freemium might not work is because if your in stock, out of stock items are quick, to get on and off, and you can't manage it, no one's going to be there to manage that for you. So the management side of that does become a problem. But they do offer email and virtual support if you end up with any issues. I find a lot of these do, maybe except for Weebly, but we'll talk about them after. Cons, there's no phone support. So it's very hard to get a hold of somebody on the phone. I'm somebody who likes to talk to somebody on the damn phone, and I'm sure you guys are too, because you get the problem resolved quickly. You don't want to be noodling around, messaging someone back and forth in a chat or sending an email and waiting. You're leaving money on the table essentially as an e-commerce website where you could be fulfilling orders and getting dollars in the pocket. So having that support, if you could wait, this is a good option. A la carte pricing can become costly. And what that means to me is specific to Shopify. Pros of Shopify, cons of Shopify. So cons for me with Shopify is you might have a small fee up front, $100, $200. You buy a theme for $200, $300. You install it, you get your site built. Sometimes it's complicated, sometimes it's not. With Shopify, you only get, I think, 2 templates, which is usually the shopping area. So your catalog, essentially where your products are, and your homepage, which is the front page of the website when you go to www.com. You don't get anything ancillary like an about section or different, categories. Something to consider with that when you're looking at that, because you might have to build that custom. The next thing that really kind of ticks me off with Shopify, the freemium Shopify, is when you're building out the website, every time you need something, it's going to cost you money. And by money, I mean a monthly subscription. So you want a plugin for Instagram feed so you could show Instagram, $10 a month. You want to have a unique size calculation thing for your consumers to use, $10 a month. You want to quickly load your website on a mobile device because that's problematic. We'll get into that shortly. They have a plugin for that. It happens to be $20 a month. So every single thing you can think of is a plugin, and everything costs money, or an app as they call them. So keep that in mind, and that's how some of these things quickly tick up to be very expensive. Okay, so a la carte pricing can become costly over time. The no support for plugins or extensions. Essentially, it's very hard to get these things rectified. If you have trouble navigating through one of them, it can become troublesome trying to get support for some of them because they're just not supported through customer service. So because they have rogue people building these things. So keep that in mind too. If you found a theme for your Squarespace, for your Shopify website, but the plugins just aren't supported there. And some of these do have plugins as well. Limited customization. So you're limited essentially to what they're giving you. The template is the template and that's it. You can't really stray too much outside that. A lot of that's behind a paywall. So if you start to get, down a rabbit hole with your brand and everything's pink and bubbly and, you got this fun thing because you got this cool kids nursery that you're building or whatever, you might not be able to get super close to your brand narrative. So keep that in mind. lack of advanced marketing tools. This is a big one for me, but a lot of these don't come with the greatest marketing tools or services. They'll come with a basic like SEO package thing where it's just a one-time doohickey that doesn't really do much. And with Shopify, you'll pay $15 a month for it. But a lot of them don't have advanced tools for professionals to use in the digital marketing space, is what I'm saying. They're not scalable for a growing business. So a lot of them won't integrate with some of your systems as you grow. Let's say now you went from selling like 150,000 pieces a year to now you're selling 1 million plus, and you need like a 3PL management company to kind of help you with logistics and shipping. But when you set that up, the 3PL service, there's no integration with any of these websites for that. And you can't make one custom because they don't offer custom API access. So you can't scale the website for your business that's just grown, and it won't integrate with any of your other systems. So that's a thing that kind of bugs me too with these. So knowing where you're at when you get started will save you money in the long run, if that makes any sense. If you know you're only going to do a couple of things a month and it's going to be a small hobbyist thing, some of these make sense. If your intentions are to take over the world, you want to set yourself up for success from the gate. Brand badges. So a lot of these with the freemium models will have a brand badge at the bottom of it. It's almost like I got a shirt, a hat, pants, and sneakers that say Nike on it. It will say Wix on the bottom, or Squarespace, or whatever it is, powered by Squarespace. Some people don't care. I usually care, but that's up to you. And then we talked about the monthly subscriptions here. Now I talked about Shopify. What kind of bugs me about Shopify? Squarespace has some similar, some not. I know they offer a subscription model. You're limited. With Squarespace, I like to use Squarespace for a portfolio site. I've seen them happen and be successful. They may work as a lead gen or lead capture site. I've not seen anything from an e-commerce solution I've been like, that's a good option. Wix, and we're getting the best to worst in terms of freemium here: Shopify, Squarespace, Wix. Wix is, again, a little bit worse than Squarespace. From a marketing standpoint, it creates problems from an SEO standpoint, which I won't get into today, but something to keep in mind with Wix. And Weebly, probably the worst. They're pretty much just essentially singular pages. So keep these in mind depending on what you want to do and how you want to go about your e-commerce solution. Now, I'm giving a couple of examples here. I'm going to click off so we could go to some of these. This is an example of a Shopify website that was created using the freemium model. Now, they have some plugins here, like the extra account area, the search feature, that I'm sure they pay for monthly. But they have, this is how it's designed. And what you see is essentially what you get with all this stuff on the page. So they got blogs, which is nice. And then they have this robust footer. But again, depending on how you want to design or develop your website, it's going to be important. If having something that's well designed and developed that meets your brand objective is going to be important for you, the freemium models for these might not really look, because as you can tell, this is a little boring. Here's an example for Wix, a Wix site that uses one of the templates for shopping. The thing with them is a lot of times these sites are just simply carts. They're catalog carts, as we call them. So you could shop by collection and then you see the cart. There's no real brand promise or messaging. It's not giving you a front page and it's not telling you a story. So again, keep that in mind. We can look at that on mobile too. A lot of these do offer good solutions for mobile devices because they think about mobile first, as does Google from an SEO standpoint. So that might be a good check for using some of these systems. But again, pros and cons to this. This is different. This is the WordPress. Okay. So now that we talked about that, I do want to now talk about professional websites. And what I mean by professional is, I don't mean, you've had someone come and build your website. You could. Some of this stuff you could do yourself. Some of it you cannot. But as I said, if you're getting into the professional level of service where you're starting to deliver 1 million packages a year plus, then you need to consider something a little bit more advanced, because your systems that you're going to use is not going to integrate with a free solution. You're going to need a more advanced solution that will readily readily work with some of them. You have unique API calls to build out custom things that communicate with your shopping cart, that will then communicate with your logistics company and your shipping company, and then in turn work 360 with your customer service portal that you may or may not have. Let's say you're using something like NetSuite or I don't know. There's a lot. There's a million out there. If you're a fitness facility, as an example, MindBody, ABC Financial, but there's just endless customer management solutions out there, but they don't all integrate with everything. So if you have a professional solution, you get professional production from start to finish. A lot of times you're working directly with somebody to accomplish the end result, which is to build a beautiful website. You do get real-time support, which for me, as I said, that's a thumbs up for me. Custom solutions that match your brand. Sky's the limit. You can build whatever you want. Shopify's on here again because Shopify Pro is a model of Shopify that allows you to custom build a solution on their platform. Their backend platform is very easy to use. It's very user-friendly for people who don't know how to program or code or do anything. They offer some cute analytics. I'm 50-50 on it, but they do offer great backend support. Now, I don't like the front ends of those websites when you do it on the freemium model, but the pro model is pretty nice. Search engine optimization ready. Any good web development person or any developer will work with a SEO specialist to make sure out the gate you're ready for ranking. We'll briefly touch on that towards the end of this meeting, but they'll make sure that you're ready and out the gate for Google to crawl your website, start reading it, and start giving you a ranking position. User experience and messaging can be customized. So your UX, your user experience, your storytelling on a website, everyone always forgets about storytelling, but that could be customized to meet your objective or your business goals. The cons here. So the cons are there's a larger upfront cost than the ongoing fee. So whereas you're paying a couple of dollars upfront for some of those cheaper models, when you go and think of one of these custom solutions, you're paying more, sometimes significantly more, like a Magento, or if everything's custom hard coded. But again, they do offer better long-term support. WordPress, Shopify Pro in your case, a lot of these cases, I'm sure speaking to you guys, it's probably the way to go. WordPress WooCommerce integration. That's probably the type of site you should be building and growing from. But if again, you're only selling a couple things, you're knitting sweaters and part-time, the regular Squarespace site might do you justice. Just know you're going to have monthly expenses that are going to be significant as opposed to the upfront cost of building a website, which in turn is going to be the same thing over time. Okay, now I'm going to show you some other examples here. This one is a good Shopify professional website. So as you can see from the last Shopify website we looked at, which was this one, that was kind of flat and boring and, wasn't great. It's template based. This one is a lot more visual and better and, offers you all types of stuff that you could go nuts with. So the sky's the limit in terms of what you want to do from a professional standpoint. They have an ADA widget for hearing and visually impaired, which I will talk about. So you could turn on and off stuff, which is great. You can click on some of this stuff, learn more about some of the ingredients, which I love. It's interactive. Interactive websites always do well. Although very colorful, their visuals are nice. Even though they're all 3D renderings, they're not professionally shot, but professional photos will do you justice. And again, everything's great. This is a beautiful website. The Our Story onwards, this is nice. They have a custom navigation where everything's visual. So this is the professional version of Shopify. This is essentially the freemium model. There are a couple other examples. This is I believe this was the Magento one. So yeah, I mean, you get to be a little bit more, cute or a brand forward when you're thinking about a professional website, and the end result seems a little better. These examples do provide great imagery and great visuals to match the brand, which is helpful. But overall, very nicely designed websites from a user experience standpoint. The CTAs are great. You got a great big button here, a nice shop all here, shop. No mistake about that. Get 15% off. So the storytelling and the visualization is nice. This is a third example. This is a custom site. I'm giving you this example because this is subscription based. This website's okay. It's not fantastic. I'm just giving this as they offer stock subscriptions for him or her or whatever. Reason I'm giving this to you is because if you have a subscription model, you're going to need a custom solution essentially, because your subscription is not going to be the same as someone else's subscription. And you're going to get down a rabbit hole of trying to use one of those freemium tools to fit into your solution. So keep in mind, if you have something unique or a unique product or service that isn't super common in the world, you might need to invest in a unique digital solution for your storefront. Okay, let's get back to it here. All right, so these are the 3 websites we looked at. Bulk was another one. We don't need to get too deep into that, but that was a I didn't add that one, but that one is essentially the same thing. I believe this was a WordPress. Let's look at it. It was a WordPress website. Okay, so this was the WordPress website solution. You know, they great storytelling. I like the way the some of this stuff works. You know, they offer, these are all 3D renderings too. But yeah, you know, great storytelling. They have a large website and a large footprint. You can tell there's a lot of products that they offer. That was the reason for providing this example. But when you start to have a lot of products and a lot of SKUs, SKUs, you definitely need to consider something that's a little bit larger than one of those freemium models. You know, when you get over, you know, over maybe 250 SKUs ish, some of them become a little bit more cumbersome, you know, to navigate and catalog everything. Okay. All right. So provide this little guide here too. So WordPress uses WooCommerce essentially and I'm providing this because I get asked this question a lot. Do I go with WordPress or do I go with Shopify? You know, there's similarities, some are good, some bad. On the WordPress WooCommerce side, now they have a wide variety of themes and plugins, great flexibility, and this is the strongest performance in terms of SEO. Sky is the limit in terms of ranking here with WordPress sites. I've done it time and time again. That's the way to go. If your goal is to outrank your competition, rank number 1, a custom solution using WordPress, maybe a hard-coded website, maybe something that's Magento, that might be a good solution for you. Now, Shopify, nicely designed, simple to use, and they have really fast load times essentially out the box. Sometimes there's some things you have to do with third-party integrations to limit the size of images. We're going to talk about all that shortly, but they have essentially out the box fast loading times, and they're great on mobile devices. So it's very hard to mess up the user experience for a lot of those templates, because you really can't unless you get into the backend code and start messing with stuff, which I don't think anyone here is going to do. The thing about the WordPress WooCommerce, most cases they require a designer, a web developer to assist with. They do need a lot of plugins. The good news about the plugins that they need is 9 times out of 10 they're going to be cheap or free. So something to consider. Whereas Shopify, everything costs money. As you see, it relies on third-party apps and everything is a subscription. That's $10, $15. I hate subscriptions. You know, you get Disney Plus and this and this. You end up spending the price of cable every month anyway. And the same thing is true here. So you start to get into all those plugins you need, you're going to end up spending a lot of money, and you know, you should have went the route of a professional-based website. Okay. So next we're going to get into the things you need from the website. So we talked about the various platforms of the website, good, the bad, ugly. Not trying to persuade anyone in any way. You just have to ask yourself the couple questions I discussed. How many SKUs do I have? Am I going to grow this website over time? Am I anticipating on starting small but growing it? Because you don't want to do work twice. I don't like double work myself. I'd rather just do it once the right way, reevaluate it in like 3 to 5 years, which is the average life cycle of a website anyway. But now that we've done all that, we've considered that, the next thing I want to talk about is domains. So it's getting tricky out there. It used to be during the .com boom, you could buy up any domain. So I'm buying up shirtsandhats.com, frankieishandsome.net, all these different websites you could buy. Now it's hard. There aren't that many domains available. So you're seeing a lot of crazy names for things, like Chickeria's blah, blah, blah. It's a pizza thing, or, you know, just crazy stuff. The Goo Machine, you know, what is that? I don't know. But you're seeing a lot of different names for things that are unique because you have to come up with something unique to acquire the domain. And you want to have a domain that's short and sweet. You don't want a long domain because now imagine your email address. Your email address is going to be long, which we'll talk about. You can get shortened domains, but those are getting tricky to get now too. Getting something that's an acronym. Those are really hard to get, and they can be expensive. I've seen acronym websites go for $40,000 just to own a domain, and then you got to pay for there's yearly fees involved with that. So coming up with a unique name, seeing what's available, and acquiring it as soon as possible is going to be big for you. They do offer domain buying services, so people go out and they buy domains and they just hold them for a while, hoping eventually someone's going to come along and try to buy it. I haven't had much luck with domain buying services because everyone wants a lot of money. For small business and startup, it doesn't really make inherent sense. If you ask me, a .com versus a .net, does it matter? Not really. I like redirects. So if you found a nice vanity URL, you were able to acquire shirtsenhance.com, but your actual name brand's a bit longer, you can always redirect that so it goes to your main domain. So regardless of what you type in, you'll still go to the main domain. And that's what I tell a lot of my clientele to do. And buy up as much as you can. The worst thing that can happen is you bought your .com of your brand name, but then your competitor came and bought the .net, the .org, and they own everything else and every iteration of your brand name. So try to own as much as that real estate as you possibly can. This way, there's no chance anyone's going to go and buy anything else. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about payment gateway. So payment gateway is important. And I didn't really mention that when we're talking about the different website models, the different platforms. But when you build a website, there is going to be a gateway. Now, Shopify does its own thing, and they take a percentage. So they're going to take 2.5 to 3%, whatever it is, out of all your orders. And they're just going to take that and say, thanks for the money. Some of them do not. It depends. But when you work with something that's like a WooCommerce, for example, you pay the $100 a year to have WooCommerce, but then you're going to have to pay the payment gateway. You're gonna have to pick one, and you're gonna have to go with that. So there's various different ones. PayPal has one, Authorize.net, Square, Stripe. You have to look into pros and cons of each one, see which one from a cost of goods standpoint is going to make sense for you because they all vary. Another thing to consider is what you're going to sell. So we have a client who sells displays, but those displays that they sell are in an industry that is still heavily regulated. Because of that, it makes it difficult to get a approved payment gateway so people can purchase online. So we had to find a unique option, which cost a couple extra dollars, in the setup, and then it costs more monthly because it was deemed more of a risk. So just whatever you're choosing, make sure it works with their terms and their policies, whatever you're intending to sell. And you got to look at the fine print to see what makes sense in terms of a payment gateway for you. Now, hosting. Hosting is a big one, especially if you're intending on getting a lot of visitors, a lot of site traffic here. You have to be aware of cheap shared hosting. These are hosts who, when they host your website, essentially your website's sitting on a digital piece of land. Someone owns that land. They're renting it out to you. So your website could be there. When you have hosting, when you pick a hosting provider, and you're using a shared piece of land, like co-op, for example, there's pros and cons to that. It's going to be a little more tricky to get out of the driveway. You might not get a parking spot. When you own a house, different. So the same is true with hosting. You want to make sure that you have the hosting you're getting has enough bandwidth to be able to load your site fast and handle the amount of users that you may or may not get per month. WordPress, when you use WordPress, they offer what's called managed hosting. That managed hosting you really need, and this is big. This is a miss if you're going to go with WordPress. You need that because you're going to need that support. WordPress gets a lot of is prone to get like a lot of spam. A lot of these other websites are too, but WordPress is pretty common with that because there's a backend password and all that. When they do, you need good hosting, so this way you don't have to worry about any malicious activity. And the same is true with all these website examples. And you always want to have a staged website. So if you're working with a developer who's building you out a website, you want to have a stage for your hosting, for your website. So you would build it on a development website, and you're going to have that development website always. So if you want to make a key change to your website, but you don't want to put it live because you want to see what it looks like and see how it interacts on your website, the best thing you could have is a development website. So now I have the development website. Whenever I want to make a change to my main website, I'm going to first pop it up on my development website, make sure it's good, make sure it works, I didn't break anything. And then from there, you can pop it onto your regular live site. So this way you're not always working live, and the customer could reload the website and see what you're doing and watch in real time, interchanging banners and things like that. That's a big mistake. So, and you won't break your live site. So if you break the dev site, you can figure out why. Your live site's still good. You don't have to do it. You don't have to close down your shop because you're doing, you're fixing the bathroom. You have a whole nother area to tinker with. So I always say get a development staging site with your hosting. Okay, emails. So emails, as I said earlier, will be your @domain. See a lot of people, they're in business and they'll use Google and it'll just say, frank@google.com or whatever, but it doesn't really tell about your brand. When you're handing out a business card or you're interacting or engaging with somebody, you want to use your brand. You want to use your brand name, your branddomain.com. So, this is mine at Active Web Group. So you want to make sure you're doing that. What I said is there are acronyms you can get with your domain. So if I could get awg.com, that might be a good one because I can now have a shorter domain, shorter email address with my domain, and it's not so long to type out. So look at the exit points in terms of acquiring domains because it could trickle down to things like this. But get 1 or 2 domain email addresses. Usually you get one free with whatever domain or hosting you're going to get. It's pretty common. I know GoDaddy offers that. But get as many as you need. There are other servers that offer email hosting like Rackspace. So it's what you want, whatever you want to use there, but definitely get a professional email. And then you're going to want to put it onto a service like Microsoft. I'm a Google guy, so I use Google, but you're going to want to have some kind of service or system that does that. And some of those are paid. Google just made all professional emails paid now. So you pay $6 a month per email, which is kind of stinky, but you still get access to G Suite and all the bells and whistles that they have to offer, which we're currently using in their presentation format. Okay. I'm going to move on here to now talk about conversion points and design of a website. So when you're building your website, you have to consider all your conversion factors. Websites, I showed you an example that was pretty terrible. That was the first Shopify one. There wasn't many conversion points on there. It was just essentially a shopping cart with an image up top. So you want to design and develop your website to meet the needs of your goals. So here is a good example. I have, and actually, I'm going to show you the Active Web Group example, actually, because I think that's probably the best. So give me 2 seconds. Okay. So this is the Active Web Group website. I think because I got video on, it's loading a little slow. So now I have my logo all nice and bright. I have clear central navigation. I have my CTA or request a quote right here, my call to action. And I have the phone number right here, which is clickable on a mobile device. I have a form right above the fold. So think of a magazine, like a newspaper. This is above the fold. Anything that you could scroll down on is below the fold. So I have clear call to actions and clear messaging above the fold for people to convert. This is not an e-commerce website, but the same principles are true for a shopping website, the e-commerce website. You're going to want to have a shop now, a shop all. That would be good for you. You're going to want to explain your categories, the different categories you offer, the different product lines. You're going to want to organize that coherently, right? So you have a shop all, and then you shop by category. Then you're going to want to click on there, but those CTAs, those conversion points, are essentially going to be the same. Where was a good example? I think I still have one of them up. Okay, this is a good example. So if you look, I could shop by different types: sampler, classics, variety pack, or bestsellers. So those are their categories. The shop button is nice and big. I could try a sampler, which is important to them for some reason. The shop all here, which is nice and big above the fold. They got a nice image, and then you scroll down and you could learn more about the individual products, which is great. So their messaging and their approach is great. And it's very similar. They're using a unique color to identify the call to actions. Now, what we do a lot in marketing is rule of threes. So rule of threes will kind of help your eye visually go down the page. For them, they have this nice big rocker, as I call it, where they're offering free shipping or any kind of messaging that they have. Then they have that shop button. And then the third area is the shop all button. So these three items are leading you down the page, essentially. Then you see you get 15% off, and now you're starting to go to it, right? From a visual standpoint. If you look from a contact submit form type of website like we have here, you have the logo, which is blue, but look at that orange there, that little orange dot. 1, request a quote, contact us. 3, and then you're scrolling, then you're off to it. So you want to make sure that you have a certain cadence, a visual cadence here to get your user to convert or get them on the journey to convert. But yeah, and then if you start to look at this stuff on a mobile device, you see that it's responsive and it has a hamburger menu. This is called a hamburger menu, and they're putting all the different that. I believe someone is off mute. Okay. Share my screen again. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the design of a website and how it should work from a hierarchy standpoint. Now, this shows the website, our website here from a mobile standpoint. I showed you that e-commerce example, but you get what's called a hamburger menu. It's because you get the buns and the meat, and a phone number, a phone call for us. So clicking on that phone is important. We still have that call to action form there, but for you, it might be a shop by catalog, shop by category, or it might be some kind of other thing. You know, if you have a big sale, you want that to be prominent on a mobile device when you do that. For e-commerce websites that are consumer facing, I am going to say from a user experience web standpoint, your mobile experience is going to be vital. You want to make sure that it's easy to shop on a mobile device first and foremost. So when you're designing or developing your website and you've got consumers in mind, and it's not a business website, so you're not selling things to other businesses who might be looking on their desktop computer from the hours of 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. If you are selling shirts and hats to the consumer or something similar, then you want to make sure your website is designed first for mobile. And you want to build your website around the mobile user interface first, and then design desktop iteration. And that's what I mean by having a responsive website. So when you have a responsive website here, regardless of the platform or the type of hardware you are using, whether it be a phone, a tablet, a desktop computer, or a laptop, which all has different aspect ratios, right? Regardless of that, it still looks and appears and functions the same, and it has conversion in mind. Now, the mobile device, what it's doing essentially is it's still providing all the information that the regular website has. The only difference here is it's stacking that information from first to last. The same is true here and is happening on this thing, on the tablet. And it's true it's happening on the mobile, the desktop and the laptop version, which maybe it's a 13-inch laptop versus a 21-inch desktop computer. But either way, that's what it's doing. And it still has its rule of thirds here. See, I'm not making this stuff up. It's got its rule of thirds and it's following you down the page. That stuff is key. There is what's called adaptive websites. Now, an adaptive website is a little different. So a responsive website, all it does is it responds to your device, your hardware. So it's going to it's going to stack all the elements on a mobile device, but all the elements are still going to be there. if you think about an adaptive website versus a responsive website, what an adaptive website might do is it might strip out some information. An example of this is I sell boats, right? I'm a boat guy, and I'm selling boats on my website. When you go to my desktop version of my website, I have a beautiful video of a boat on the water, and it's cruising along, and it's showing the lifestyle of what you can have when you buy a boat. When you buy a boat. When it's on a mobile device and you load that website, that video is not there. I'm keeping site speed in mind. Site speed is important for ranking purposes with Google. If they can't crawl your website in a certain amount of time, especially on a mobile device, you're not going to rank anywhere amongst your competition. So you need to consider that. So that might be a reason why you want to go with an adaptive website versus a responsive website. And again, responsive website strips out elements that are unnecessary for the device for various reasons. My example was for site speed. And site speed. So site speed is essentially is how fast your device loads on, how fast your website loads on a device. You want to keep your site speed in mind, especially as an e-commerce website, especially as an e-commerce website dealing with consumers. That's from a user experience standpoint. But it can also be an SEO standpoint. So Google's going to crawl your website, and they're going to read your website like a book. They're going to read it cover to cover. They're going to say, "Oh, this is about motorcycle helmets." Okay, now we know where and how to rank this website or how to think about this website. Then they're going to look and say, "Okay, do you sell motocross helmets? Do you sell bicycle helmets? Do you sell tricycle helmets? What kind of helmets do you sell?" And then they're going to go down the rabbit hole and start to rank and figure out where you position yourself. And that's when you could kind of tell Google some of these things. But if your site speed is slow, Google's never going to get to there. It's going to take them too long, and you're not going to be happy about that. And again, you'll never rank. The other thing to consider is from a user experience standpoint. I'm sure everybody's been there where they're on their mobile device. They saw an ad somewhere, for something, some kind of product or service. They clicked on it, but the website just took forever to load. And they maybe tried it once or twice because they're like, okay, I really want to look at this product. And still the same thing, it just didn't load fast. So they forgot about it, they X'd out. That's your bounce. They bounce off the website. You could get significant bounce, and leave a lot of money on the table by not considering site speed overall and how it interacts with user engagement. So site speed important for an e-commerce website. AMP is a tool that will help you a little bit. Not something I really recommend too much for an e-commerce website. But what AMP does, this is a good example of a adaptive website. What it's doing is it's making a second iteration of, and this is through the Google platform, so naturally Google likes it. But it makes a second iteration of your website where it's stripping out all the non-essential data. So it starts to look like a Wikipedia document, but site loads blazingly fast. We use it on our website various times, so you may see that version of the website depending. But the site will load really fast, and this might be what edges you against your competitors in certain fields for ranking in Google. But for e-commerce purposes, what I suggest is just being responsive and adaptive. So I'd be adaptive in that if you're going to serve a lot of imagery, a lot of heavy imagery, you're going to serve a lot of video stuff, a lot of animations or animatics. So like icons move and shift and things of that nature. You probably want to strip a lot of that out for the mobile version of your website. So you get straight to the point. Okay, now talking a little bit about some problems that are facing websites currently. One of them is ADA, so that's the hearing and visually impaired. If you go to a website and you don't have solutions for hearing and visually impaired people, you could be liable to being sued. I'm seeing this with some of my larger clientele and some bigger business. Something to look out for. If you go to, I think I had this on the Active website. Yep. So the Active website is a good example where we use a special plugin, which is through WooCommerce, where you could, do different things to highlight certain things, and if things are jarring, turn that off. Let's see. I need keyboard navigation. I want to turn off this seizure effect. So dulls the colors so it doesn't, shock me. There's various things you could do. You can highlight things, you can adjust font size, make it bigger and smaller. This is a great tool that will essentially give you some guidance there for the ADA. So it helps. It's not to be all to end all, but at the size of a lot of these websites we're probably building, that widget, that module will be helpful for you guys to stay out of trouble and, be accessible to your audience, which is important. There are various levels of ADA compliance, as I said. Most people fall in the middle, which is video, audio. The biggest no you could do when building your website, and I see this, let's see if I see an example here. This not so great website definitely has it. Yep. So this Happy Mother's Day, use code Mother's Day, and apparently, Mother's Day passed, so they're doing a great job here. But Happy Mother's Day, use Mother's Day code at checkout. You see how I'm able to pull that off? I can't highlight this copy because they made a JPEG and uploaded it to this website with this copy already in it, and it's flat. You need to be able to highlight this copy so that a reader can read the copy and tell the user what it says. So this is somebody that's liable to get in trouble because they don't have that. Now, if I go to, let's see how I could highlight my full service digital marketing agency. This is live copy on the site. The first thing to note is that it will get smaller and bigger and be responsive, so it could always be read. Whereas this, I'm sure, is going to look like crap on a mobile device. So you want to make sure you never, ever, ever embed your copy in your image when you're designing stuff, whether it be a hero image like this. This is what I call a hero image, something in the category section, a specific product. You never want to do that. You always want to make sure it's live copy that could be highlighted, clicked, and read by these readers that will read for hearing and visually impaired people. Okay. Just gonna look at the time here. Okay. So you want to make sure that you have all that in motion and in place. Again, there are special tools and widgets for that, which can complicate your life a little less, but keep in mind the hearing and visually impaired ADA compliance. California website privacy laws and GDPR, which is overseas. So California is usually the first to kind of enact some of these things, but they currently have their own website protection laws, which is really sending a ripple effect throughout both digital marketing, e-commerce world. So you're starting to see a lot of that. We store your privacy, we store your data, or what we do with your data, you have to consent to that. So you're seeing those little pop-ups more that appear with specific privacy policies with very clearly defined language of what they do with your data, how it's stored, how to get access to it, and how to delete it. You're going to want to put this onto your website because you're all going to collect credit card information, I'm assuming. You're going to use your data, first name, last name, probably email, so you could send them a marketing email, I'm sure. Abandoned shopping cart. Thanks for your order. Save 20% off next order, etc. You're going to want to store that data. And as you're storing that data, you're going to want to have some kind of policy up on your website. This is another thing people are getting sued left and right for. I would say probably more so than the ADA. So make sure you have a policy in place on your website. Some of those systems that I talked about earlier for your website will help you with that. Some of them won't. So be cognizant of it. Make sure you're putting something up for your consumer to accept. Okay, and I want to talk a little bit about tracking here. So, and we're going to start to now get into the digital marketing segment of what I'm getting into here, where we're going to talk about, okay, so I chose Shopify, and I built a Shopify website that looks moderately okay, and it's been 3 months and I'm not making any sales. Why am I not making any sales? Well, maybe you did an SEO setup where it's ready to be ranked and it's ready to be positioned. However, you just didn't do anything from a marketing standpoint. It's not a set it and forget it proposition with any of this stuff. You really have to nurture it in order for it to grow. It all starts with tracking. You want to have great tracking in place on your website. Google Analytics is a good starting point. I don't believe that all tracking tools are created equally. An example would be I don't trust Facebook's tracking, how much they tell me how many visitors clicked on a thing and did that. I don't really believe in that. I like to get all my tracking in one place, which is done through Google Analytics. Google just updated the G4 to meet those privacy policies that we just talked about. But you'll have a great tracking hub where you could see where your users came from, how you acquired them, how much money in revenue did you make by platform, whether you're talking about SEO, pay-per-click, email marketing, maybe you did some kind of ancillary affiliate marketing, whatever you're doing from a digital marketing standpoint, you can see where they came in, where those dollars ended up, and which might be the lead racehorse in terms of that. And you could then say to yourself, I'm going to spend all my money on great pay-per-click ads because that was winning the race. Or you could say, all right, pay-per-click's doing really good, but I see emails struggling here. So let me throw a couple dollars in email to kind of make it even keeled and see if it's worthwhile to pursue. The tracking is what's going to determine that and kind of help you get to the next level in terms of revenue. So you want to know where your money's coming from. And a CRM will help you to determine that too. So having a good customer relationship management tool will help you kind of get that all in place where you can send out emails, you can see where things are going. Maybe you have some shipping issues and logistical issues you can make notations of. So you want to have a good support management software in place. Now, the thing to consider working backwards is that some of those platforms I described, like Wix, Weebly, they don't really offer integration to some of these CRMs. So you can't really integrate and see what's happening, how it's going in real time, because they don't have open access to be able to communicate with some of the software. So if you require a CRM, you need to, your system, your website platform needs to be able to communicate. You need to consider that right now before you start building and choosing a website. Okay, now we're going to be jumping around a little bit, talking about some of the ins and outs, some marketing pursuits from a digital standpoint to get you guys moving and start making sales. Reputation management. So reputation management essentially is your reputation online. You'll find that people live and die by this nowadays. Look at Amazon, for example. If you have 2 stars and you have 5,000 people who gave you that, you know, maybe I'm not going to buy that product. Maybe I'm not buying all 5 stars because, you know, I'm a conspiracy theorist and I think that everyone's pumping that up, which can be true. But so I'm getting like looking at the 4 stars and seeing how those reviews are. And if they're decent enough, all right, I'm going to bite and probably buy that item. This could also be true for things like services, like restaurants and, you know, various things, contractors, you know, and Google My Business. Let me see if this contractor is reputable. I'm going to check them out on Google. I'm going to check them out on Yelp. I'll check them out on the Better Business Bureau and maybe Angie's List or something like that. You want to look and make sure that your reputation across board is solid. But you say to me, Frank, how do I do that? What if I do get a negative review? So it's important to respond to those reviews when you can. There are tools that will filter through it. It's a little difficult when you are doing e-commerce reviews with the star system, like in Amazon, or you're doing direct on your website. But having a solid reputation with and credibility will help you sell products over time because people now window shop and they're buying things based on other user reviews. There are many review platforms here from, as I said, from Google. Some of these don't matter to you guys, like Glassdoor. Though again, if you have a pretty big operation with a warehouse and you're looking for warehouse team members, if you got bad Glassdoor reviews, that may affect you. But Facebook, you know, they all matter. So you want to be looking at all these review platforms across board and making sure you're solid there. Positive reviews, you ask for positive reviews. You could use an email to entice us right after a good relationship. Someone just bought an item. Wait like 3 to 5 days. Once you know that order arrived, maybe give them an additional 2, then send an email asking for a positive review on the website or your platform that you're selling on. That will be killer for you in order to obtain a review. You don't want to ask for a review 17 months from now. They're not going to remember or care. You want to get it when they first got that good experience. This is an example. Google is one of those examples for reviews where they have the Google My Business platform. For you guys, it's going to matter more is like internal reviews, getting reviews into the system of your shopping management tool. and fostering those great reviews. But Google business.google.com, you can locate it, get it on the maps, and then get a listing. This will help you with your SEO overall when people are searching for you. Now let's do it. Let's have a sip of coffee and talk about how to get sales, I guess. Okay. Now, in order for me to start talking about how to get sales digitally, I first have to talk about the channels. Now, 20 plus years ago, before everyone was shopping online, you would call channels platforms as a digital marketer. So you would talk about EDDM, which is every door direct mail, sending a postcard to somebody, billboard, right? Direct traffic, people walking directly into your store, which direct traffic is still a thing. It's just a little different here for digital channels. Newspaper and radio, right? In-store displays or in-store placement, affiliate stuff, trade show. So you have all these platforms that you have. Now they're called channels from a digital standpoint. So the digital channels are as follows, and there's other ones, but these are the ones you're more than likely going to encounter. You have direct traffic, and that's people coming directly to your www.com. So people going to frankshirtsandhats.com, they were told by a friend, it's a referral, but it's an offline referral, right? And they visited the site. They saw a sticker that was on, someone stuck it to a mailbox, and I looked at it. Oh, that's cool. And I went to the website. So direct traffic doesn't really correlate to a digital marketing effort, or 9 times out of 10, I say it won't. So if you have somebody who's reporting on SEO, search engine optimization, direct traffic should not count towards that goal. Okay, then you have organic. This is your SEO traffic. This is someone organically searching for something. So I'm just searching for shirts and hats. And I Googled search and hats. Frank's Fantastic Hat Emporium came up. And I clicked on franksfantastichatemporium.com, and I went to that website and I bought something. That's an organic search because I was just searching for shirts and hats. If I search Frank's Fantastic Shirt and Hat Emporium, that's not, and I put it in the taskbar in Google and I came up, is that really an organic search? That's what we call a brand term. So that's my brand name that I should inherently be ranking for because I'm the only one with that name. So I should be ranking for that. And if I'm not, there's some problems. Like if you can't Google your brand name and you're not showing up on the first page, there's a discussion to be had there. But I don't know that I necessarily count that as SEO traffic because I already knew. It's very similar to direct traffic. I just put it in Google instead of putting it into my taskbar. It's a very senior plus thing to kind of do. But that's how I would take that as a SEO specialist. I wouldn't count that as an organic goal. So organic is searching for something, a key term that is relevant to the products and services I sell that come up in Google, and then someone clicked and made a purchase. Okay, so paid is I'm paying for a position, whether it be in Google and I'm paying for those ads that show up before the organic listings, or if I have a remarketing ad, those ads that follow you around. What I say, if you were to buy a unicycle, I don't know why I said unicycle, it's late in the day, but if I'm to buy a unicycle and I'm looking at them and then they start following me all around the web, regardless of what site I am, that's a remarketing ad and that's a paid position. They're paying to haunt you. Social, so Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all those things. TikTok is a thing now. So all those different platforms can be organic or they can be a paid position. I could run an ad in Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram, or I could just do it organically through my postings with hashtags, and I'm getting traffic that way. So looking at that, you look and see, okay, so I'm getting traffic, organic traffic from social. Maybe if I boost the post or I boost something to get some more traffic, that might be helpful. Maybe if I appear in the shopping feed in Instagram, that would be helpful for me. So a whole nother platform to consider. Referral traffic is if it's coming off a referring domain. So I'm listed in the 20 BuzzFeed's 20 best hats. That's a referring domain, and they clicked and they went to my website. Those are paid. All those ads, those advertorials, like BuzzFeed, those are paid positions 9 times out of 10. Email. So email blast, that's pretty straightforward. I got an email offer. I clicked on it. I bought. it could be done through your own email marketing efforts where you're collecting a list. And of course, you have a privacy policy and a accept agreement on there, a pop-up. But it could also be done through affiliate. So a third party sent out an email on my behalf that I paid for. Okay, talking about SEO. So SEO, your search engine optimization, is not a set it and forget it proposition. It's not a one-time thing. When you get your website built or you're building your website, you do want to consider SEO best practices. You do want to make sure every page has a title. You do want to make sure you have keywords that are in your headlines of each thing. So shirts and hats for me would be in the title of some of my stuff in my example. But you want to make sure you're following best practices. You have 3 to 5 paragraphs on a page. Then eventually you're putting keywords in. All your images have meta descriptions. They have appropriate titles. They're looking to rank for a keyword. Maybe I did the competitor audit against a couple competitors. I saw where they were ranking. I use that to determine what I need to rank for based on search volume in order to properly rank and get customers to organically visit my store. That starts with content and links. Google has what's called domain authority. So they assign a number to your website based on what they think your website has kind of clout of. The best way for me to describe this to you guys is if I'm applying for a job at Frank's Shirt and Hat Emporium, and I knew Frank directly, because I knew Frank. I'm a popular guy. I knew Frank. He called me in for an interview, and I got the job, right? Whereas I didn't know anybody there, and I didn't get a call for an interview. So I used my network to get a job. With link building links, domain authority, essentially it works that if I have an article, let's say I put an article up on BuzzFeed. Now BuzzFeed, the best shirt and hat stores online, right? 20 best shirt and hat stores online. They went viral. Essentially BuzzFeed, what they're doing is they're putting your link on their website. You're paying for that, of course. But as you're paying for that, the BuzzFeed website has a lot more equity, a lot more visitors. Google looks at it in a lot higher regard than my little dinky shirt and hat website. But what's happening now is Google saying, oh, they're related to each other. They know each other. Okay, let me raise the equity stake or the domain authority of frankshirtandhatemporium.com because they know it because they're buddies. And that's how that works. Blogs and articles and content. Content is king in terms of SEO. Your HTML stuff, that's your titles, tags, meta description of anything you're going to put on the website. Popularity is your domain authority, which we just talked about. The design of the website is going to be important and vital. So looking at the website overall from a hierarchy standpoint, which we talked about, what's a good website from a structure converting point of view, that's going to be helpful. But it's also going to be helpful for Google to be able to read and rank your website. Your strategy, which we started with, where we talked about looking at some of the keywords and looking at some of my competitors and what they're ranking for. All that kind of works together 360 to build a proper SEO strategy. And it's ongoing, ranking for things like the stock market. If you're looking at it, on the daily, I might be number 1 for shirts and hats tomorrow. The next day, Nike is, and then the next day, Reebok is, and then I'm back to number 1 again. That's how it kind of works. Long term, you don't want to see that I was number 1 and then I dip down to number 31 when I'm looking at a quarter over quarter. Then you're going to know there's a problem. Pay-per-click. Now, pay-per-click is pretty straightforward. I'm paying for an ad placement. Bing, Google, don't discredit Bing because people do look at Bing, but not, Google owns most of the search traffic. But when you're looking to position an ad, pay-per-click is a good thing to consider. They have the shopping feed. I didn't get so deep water into this in this presentation, but the Google shopping feed is going to be helpful for you guys to sell products. You pay for that listing. So you're paying per click. Every time someone clicks on there, you're paying 50 cents, 25 cents, whatever the cost of it. If you're asking me what an average cost per click is, I couldn't tell you. I have clients that spend $25, $30 on a click plus. I've seen keywords that are $50, $100 a click. I've seen keywords that are 5 cents. So it's going to vary wildly. When you're selling a consumer product that has popularity, shirts and hats, you're going to be spending for that. Just keep in mind, you have to look at your conversion rate. So if 100 people click on my ad at $1 a click. So I've spent $100 to get 100 people to click. Now, out of that $100 that I spent, only 5 people converted. Now, if my products are, a couple $100 and the ROI is there, the return on investment, it makes sense. It might not make sense if my shirts and hats are only $5 a piece, but I spent $100 to acquire five users who bought one item at $5 a piece. So I only really made $25, but I spent, $100. So I lost $75 minus whatever the cost of the good is. So you have to keep that stuff in mind as you're doing it. You have to make sure it makes sense. If it does make inherent sense, then pay-per-click is a good position for you guys to consider. I do like the remarketing ads. However, you have to build enough of an audience segment to get a remarketing position. So people have to visit your site. You have to be interacting and engaging within the ad space in order to get a remarketing trigger. Because if you don't have any users visiting the website, you can't remarket to them. Someone has to engage or interact or search for your products or services in order to send them a remarketing position. Social media we talked about. I like for e-commerce solutions, I do like Instagram shopping, depending on your target audience. So Facebook skews a little older in that baby boomer plus demographic. Instagram is kind of right now in that sweet spot, which is like that millennial set who's got the larger disposable income at the moment. You have TikTok, which skews a bit younger. Twitter, which is B2B, essentially, that's more of a news and media relationship thing. So I wouldn't suggest either that or like an Instagram. But I think your sweet spot is probably within Instagram and Facebook. Those are the best two in terms of success for selling something. There's influencers and all things like that to use as tools to sell products and services. But when we're starting out to build a website, it's probably not something we have the disposable income to consider or the marketing budget. But if you start building an organic following on those platforms, then you consider an ad. You could also remarket people and things of that nature, like I explained in the Google network. My advice to people when they're thinking about social media is always do one or two of them 110%. Don't take all these platforms here. I'm going to get on Pinterest. I'm going to do all these ancillary things that no one thinks about. Don't do all of them if you're not going to update them frequently and regularly. There's no point to doing 10 things half-ass at 5%. Do everything 100% you're going to do. So if you're only going to do Instagram, do it right, do it well, interact, engage with your consumer with it. Email marketing. Email marketing is probably the low-hanging fruit here for you guys in terms of autoresponders. So thank you for your order. Your order is on its way. Did you forget something in your cart? Save 20%, refer a friend and save X. Exclusive offers and deals for people who give you their contact information. That's what we call it, give to get. Save 20% when you put your email into this pop-up. I'm sure you've all done it before. Those things are huge. And then you've acquired now an email nurture list for minimal dollars. And then you can use MailChimp or something to kind of send them marketing messages and emails. So email for e-commerce is probably the first place to start in terms of building once you've built your website. Considering SEO and best practices is what you need to be doing while you're developing your website. All right. That was a lot of stuff we talked about, and I know it was a whole lot, and I said a lot of words and verbiage. But I think we did get through a lot here. What I like to do is, and I purposely left enough time. I left about half an hour here. I'm opening it up to questions. I'm sure we have some questions in the chat here, and I'm gonna open that up now.
Additionally, not a very big group. If anybody just wants to unmute and ask a direct question, you can do that with Frank as well. Or,
Yes.
or raise your hand. But this is your moment. This is your time to ask questions that are specific to you too.
Don't be afraid to ask. We got some great knowledge here. Let's pick his brain.
Yeah, please. I'd like to hear a little bit about the websites you guys are thinking about building. I've been a part of countless websites, startups, Fortune 500 companies. We've done it all. So let me know what you got.
I'm going to ask a question. Privacy policy is a big deal right now because of the ADA, and So is there a template fits all that people can just customize, like their name, insert their name? Like, should they take the European template? Should they take the California template? What do you do?
Yeah, so you said ADA, and I think you meant the California Privacy Act. The ADA is that I gave you that widget, which is great. It's a great tool you could use. It's on WordPress. I think there's a couple other platforms it works with, but that's a really great tool for turning on and off some of these things. It's not the be all to end all for the ADA. So there's those three different areas I showed you: the A, the AA, and the AAA. The AAA is a very advanced area, and essentially, if you're in healthcare, pharmaceutical, that kind of stuff, you probably need to meet those standards, which that widget will not work for you. But if you're in the middle road, which is probably where everybody here is in building a website, interacting with consumers, that second area will help you with that widget. Now, answering your question, talking about the privacy laws, there's the California privacy law, and there is the European version. The European version, you only really need to meet those guidelines if you're intending on selling overseas. Now, if you're only going to sell in the US, it's different. And it's technically not true if you're not going to sell in California or store information from California. But I err on the side of caution because it's not going to be too much longer before everyone slowly in the United States starts to meet those policies, or at least some countries. New York is definitely next, followed by some other states. So you want to keep that in mind. I would just meet the guidelines now for the American version of the Privacy Policy Act. At least you're hitting that. And it's not too stringent. You just need a couple policy pages, typically in the footer of your website, that clearly outline the policies and the procedures that you have. I do this with the data. I do that. I use it I won't sell your information third party. However, I may send some emails. And then you have that pop-up that comes for the consent. Some people will X out and not hit OK. Doesn't really matter as long as you show it. There are some tools that will make that for you. It's not like you need a lawyer to come up with all these legal clauses. There are some plugins, and there is some software that will build out that for you, so you don't have to spin your wheels coming up with it.
Thank you.
All right. I hope that answered that. What else we got? Talking about website.
Okay.
Yeah,
can you-
go for it. I can, Annie. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. That was tons of information. It was wonderful. So I have a question. I'm planning to launch a brand, but it's kind of like almost like crocheting at home, like that level
I knew I was gonna go on.
level of like quantity. So it's like super slow. So my game plan, my strategy, I just want your feedback on it. I was planning to start not an e-commerce site to start, but kind of more of just a kind of like a one you can click around and gives like a brand story, and ideally build up gain some email subscribers to get people who are interested and like build a following. And then when I get to a certain point, oh, by the way, I'm working on custom commissions, so kind of blogging about my custom commissions to start and kind of building on that, and then eventually launching an e-commerce site when I feel ready, prepared. Or
Yeah. Are these custom? Are they always going to be custom commissions, custom solutions?
no,
Or
just
to carry SKUs of stuff, like you're going to have multiple of the same product?
yes, I will eventually have products is the plan.
Multiple of the product. Okay. I mean, to start, I think that's wise to start considering building a website. Your website's going to change eventually, but
Mhm.
at least you don't have to deal with all the things I talked about from an e-commerce standpoint. Then the
Yeah.
rules of a lead generation website apply, which is why I'm glad I went over that. So you want to make sure you have contacts, so you have the proper conversion points on the website. But the same rules still apply from the e-commerce standpoint that I explained. If you're going to be nurturing people, you're going to be nurturing relationships. How are you intending on getting those emails? Are you going to be doing like something on social media?
Social media, Instagram. By the way, I'm starting a super free site. So I was starting with like a Google site, which I know is
Okay.
like free. I have the domain and
I
everything.
didn't talk about those websites because they're really bad. Like a GoDaddy builder, they're not
Yeah.
even something I would consider. I'm sorry. Your best bet, if you're going to do that, I would probably do a Squarespace website. I'm gritting my teeth thinking about it, but I would do a Squarespace website because you could build one for cheap, close to cheap or free for now. And then when you're ready to grow and expand, I think Shopify may be a good solution for you.
Okay.
Just keep in mind some of the things I said about plugins costing money, and you can be a runaway train. And it depends on what your objective is. If you have something unique that's custom sized and things like that, got to consider that.
It's
Um,
like limited batch, limited run garments and like accessories kind of thing. So it's like
That's
not huge amount of SKUs, pretty small.
That's great. That's great. Congratulations. But yeah, I would start with a Squarespace website because they do have. I'm kind of considering your website a portfolio website, and there
Yes.
is opportunity for portfolio websites there. Like if you're a photographer or you're a graphic designer, that's a great place to start. Just because they offer a lot in that arena, and you don't really have to know anything about programming to do.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And definitely better than those Google websites. So don't tell Google I said that.
I will-
Okay, but yeah, consider your unique value proposition, your messaging, your target audience, who's going to buy it. Consider all that now. Consider how much it's going to cost to ship this stuff because people are getting killed in shipping and logistics lately.
Mhm.
Selling stuff, things are just through the roof. So if you start to pay that in and consider that now, that'll be helpful for you. If your item is $20, but it's $15 to ship, that's going to turn a consumer off. So consider your pricing as well.
All right. All right. Thank you.
No problem. All right, what else we got? I want to hear about other websites or Frank's Shirt and Hat Emporium.
Marie, you had a question.
Yes, I do. Okay, let me preface this by saying I'm not computer savvy. I don't have a website.
That's all
I
right.
opened a shop on Etsy and
Congrats.
in February. I have a lot of lookers, but no takers. And as you talked about shipping is included. So I built it in my price so that,
Also,
I'll be okay.
the Etsy transaction fee. I know Etsy just like raised their transaction fee and
Yes,
people are up in arms about it.
yes, they did. But
Okay.
that's my only outlet right now. I've been going to exhibitions and I'm in one this weekend. I don't know what the end result would be, but I'm hoping for the best. But having said that, my cousin built me a Facebook. I was so intimidated. I have not done anything with it. It's just crazy.
Mhm.
And I have people from I don't even know want to be my friend, and I won't even read them. So I'm considering to just delete the Facebook. I also had him set up Instagram, but I haven't done anything with that. And with this exhibition, I say I have an Instagram account and I have nothing in there. So I'm going to start putting things in there. But the website, I was just a little concerned because I do travel somewhat, not internationally, but I was in Colonial Williamsburg and there was an art shop there. And the people who have the shop, I said, could I go to your website? And they said they don't have a website. And I'm like, well, how do you do business? And they said, well, they're in Colonial Williamsburg. So people walk in and they get clientele and stuff. So how really significant and is important to have a website because they cost too much to do because I can't do it.
I mean, but having a physical store costs money too. If you have a physical store, do you have a physical store or are you
No,
anticipating
I retired last December and I'm doing everything from home.
Oh, then you need to educate me because I want to retire.
Well, I'm much older than you, I'm pretty sure.
I feel like I'm 140. Okay, but so it is important to have a website if you want to sell stuff online. That's the long and the short.
Really? But you just mentioned Instagram though, which I thought that
Instagram is good too. It's a platform. Like imagine you have banners on the side of your building, and then you have a billboard, and then you have a radio ad, right? It's very similar. Instagram is just another platform.
okay.
It's another advertising vehicle essentially. But you don't want to be constantly advertising. You want to be doing nurture stuff. So I want to be talking about news and media and things going on. I think for you, it's a great opportunity because it's a lot more simplistic than Facebook. Whereas you just take a picture of something and you
Yes.
upload it and that's it. You can put a caption. Less is more. With me, as in terms of both being a designer and a digital marketer, less is more. If you could do something great, do it fantastic. Don't worry about the other stuff. I want to get in the weeds in Facebook. I would deal with Instagram if I were you because you use it as an opportunity for a portfolio that you could then put your Etsy store in your bio and then you have a
Right.
short name,
Right.
for your Instagram, and you can point people there. And they'll go and they'll find you, they'll like you, you can interact and engage with them, you can message them and send them
Yes,
links to your
I think
stuff.
that's where I'll stay for now. The
Yeah.
Facebook is very intimidating, so I'll
It's
hold on.
intimidating
with
for a
that.
lot of people, myself included. That's personally.
But the only thing, and I have to say this just in case anybody else on in this class have a Etsy. Etsy sent me a note on a couple of occasions saying that I need to refresh my painting. Now I do acrylic paints. So if you look at a painting, you're looking at it frontal. You're not looking at sideways or underneath or up and down. And I said, how can I refresh this? I'm going to do the same thing if I refresh it. And they said, make a video. I said, a video, what? I'm going to go from left to right. I mean, you're not seeing anything different. It just.
Well, they're trying to give you advice to make a sale. And when you have more pictures of it, maybe the top of it, the back of it. You said these are paintings, correct?
Yeah, acrylic paintings, yes.
Okay, so maybe someone wants to see the back side. Like, was it on canvas? Is it on vellum? Is it,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
People are going to want to see that. So that'd be
I
nice.
never thought of that. I just keep thinking of the picture. They've seen the painting, but that's a very good point. I didn't think of that. Seeing the back of the painting.
It's very personal to you. It's more like a poem, but to the outside world, it's something they want to buy. That's what they're going to hang up. So if they're going to do that, do I need to buy a picture frame for this? Can I? And then you can start thinking outside the box here with other things and adding ancillary products and services. I know a lot of people.
Thank you for that one. It's the first time hearing that, but that makes a good point. I'd like to see the backing of a painting if it's not framed, what it looks like and what I would be doing with it.
I mean, you got canvases that are 3 inches and 6 inches. I mean, a nice deep canvas is cool. Is that what it is? I don't know.
Yes. Well, thank you for that.
No
Okay.
problem.
All righty.
All right. What else we got? Let's hear more about websites and things. I can tell you about my shirt and hat website.
Not all at once.
Not
If
intimidating.
you want your website critiqued, I'm also, Frank could look it up and give you pointers. So
Yes, I'm actually going to put my, I'm sure you can send out a follow-up email, but I'm also going to put my information here in the chat.
absolutely.
So this way, if you all have any questions or concerns, you want me to look at something from, some of this stuff's pretty heavy. When we start talking about SEO and rankings, I mean, I have people who are just senior SEO specialists. I'm not expecting anyone here to be a senior SEO strategist. If you do, shoot me a message. I want to hire you. But I'm just expecting for you guys to get all the verbiage in place with a lot of this stuff and know what you're talking about. So this way you don't get sold a bill of goods and you can make, healthy decisions based on that. A lot of people will pay to get a website developed. We do develop websites too, but a lot of people will get a website developed and they won't consider ranking in Google or some of the marketing efforts. They'll just consider a pretty website. And then they have to redo stuff to kind of meet the guidelines to try to get consumers to visit their website. So keep that in mind. I don't want you to build like these really nice this grand staircase that gets to your shopping center when you need an ADA ramp as well. So again, if you have any questions on that, please let me know. I could guide you in the right direction. You could spin your wheels and spend a lot of money when you don't have to.
There is a question in the chat, dear.
Is WordPress better to start with than Shopify? That's one, that's a personal question. And for me, WordPress is a lot better. However, there's probably more of how much does a standard e-commerce cost? Okay, there's more of an inherent cost to start up building a website. I mean, you have to look under the hood and see how many hours it's going to take to build something like that and what your goals are. Whereas the Shopify website, you're going to pay the Shopify stuff. So there is 2 different versions of Shopify. I do have to make a note of that. There's the Shopify Pro, which is a very expensive platform to build a custom solution onto the Shopify CMS. So you get that great drag and drop background that people love where you log in and you can click stuff and do stuff. You get that entire CMS. However, you have a customized solution. Then there's the freemium model where essentially you're paying $300, $400 for a theme or template, and then you install that and then you build your website off of that. Sometimes it can be complex, sometimes it's not. But when you're building that website, so you have the initial $400, then you're paying Shopify every month, and then you're paying the payment gateway every month. Your transaction fees could be 5 to 7%. And then on top of that, now I have to worry about every time I need a plugin. And the examples I gave are, let's say you want to put like your Instagram feed because you have these really great paintings that you're showing the side and the back of now, and you want to show them. That's $10 a month just for the plugin. You're like renting the plugin for $10 a month. Or you need something for Google, whatever you need. I mean, I've seen like $200, $300+ a month just in plugins to make Shopify work and be happy with it. The cost just gets astronomical. So you're kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul, where you could just get a WordPress website that might integrate with something is more scalable down the road. So again, if you need something that's more user-friendly on the CMS side, probably would say Shopify is a good place to start, but I'm gritting my teeth. If you need something that that is going to be able to integrate long-term with systems and solutions like 3PL and things like that, I would consider WordPress. They have a lot of great solutions there. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of stuff come through now, which is awesome. How much does a standard e-commerce? Again, it's going to matter. I've been a part of projects that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. I've been part of e-commerce websites that cost a couple $1,000s. It's all just going to matter, determine on your goals, your budget, and timeline. Will you be able to fill out individual service verification? Oh, that's a whole different thing. I have a Wix print on demand. Do I need to include an FAQ, and what does it include? I have a Wix print on demand. I am a little confused about what you mean by print. You have a Wix site and you have a print on demand service, I think is what you're saying. Do I need to include an FAQ and what it includes? Yep. You need to, if you have like a product that's a service that's kind of in a funky category. Yes, Wix site, and it's a print on demand service. So you print stuff, you do it on demand. They upload the images or the assets, and then you go and print it and ship it to them. The cost of that stuff right now is dramatic. So, but if you do have that, if that's the kind of website you have, you're going to need to spell it out. I like infographics with that stuff. So you need to go get a really sexy infographic that explains the whole process, start to finish. Step 1, you get your asset and you upload it. Step 2, our team of printing experts do blah, blah, blah. Step 3, we carefully package your item, making sure it's not going to get damaged in transit. Step 4, there's a little van and it goes to your house. And then, you need to come up with something like that. They need to know how to upload and send you an item, whether they're sending you an email or you have an upload system through a contact capture. All that stuff needs to be put in place. Spell it out. I don't like to say assume your target audience is inherently dumb, because I don't believe that, but you have to speak to the least common denominator when you're doing that. So you want to spell things out to avoid a lot of questions and also avoid bounds. If I don't know what to do, I'm probably not going to do it. If I don't know how to use Facebook, I'm probably not going to use Facebook. So don't make people scared of things. Make it easy and seamless for them. Okay, let's see. Yes, Wix site. Okay, you're handling that thing. Should I have 2 different websites? I have a lot to say about that. If I offer service and now I want to start a brand that is make within the service, in this case, a factory that makes the brand, do you recommend to separate 2 propositions? Okay, I understood some of that, but the first thing that came to mind was, should I build a second website? It can be yes, it can be no. I'll give you an example of how it could be yes. It could be yes because I want to dominate the first page of Google. I'm going to be working on both of these websites simultaneously from an SEO ranking standpoint. So I could literally own the first page of Google from a keyword website point of view. If I want to own shirts and hats as a keyword, long tail keyword, when people Google that, I could, because I have 2 platforms to do it. I got 2 individual vehicles. I could share links back and forth to help my domain authority. So that kind of helps me. I'm kind of helping myself out, right? But now think about that. Instead of doing the work once, I got to do the work twice. And you can't share content if you want to rank. It has to be individual content. Google's going to pick it up and they're not going to rank either of the websites. It's duplicate content rule. So yes, I like that for that. I do have clients that do that. I have clients who have like 5+ websites that do that. It can be a good thing. It can be a bad thing from a logistical standpoint. Remember, I said less is more. If you can't do the one thing 100%, don't do another thing. You're not going to be able to, don't do it. One girlfriend is enough. Don't get crazy. But if you have 2 completely separate businesses that are not the same, and they're going to be mixed messaging from a marketing standpoint, then you want to have two different things. You want them to be separate. That's as simple as that. If your tax IDs are separate and things are separate, just keep them separate. Yep. Thanks. I think someone liked my girlfriend example. Yeah. So again, keep them separate, but it's good to strategize from an SEO standpoint. If you're doing that, for anybody who's listening, if you want to have multiple websites, it's a good trick of the trade. You do have to know a little bit more about SEO than just that, but that creates more opportunity because you have more platform to do so. All right. I still see we still got a couple minutes here.
I have a question.
Sure. I got answers maybe.
Thank you. I hope so. Do you think that by them having a website, they should have a link to their blog to make it more personal?
Well, when you say blog, your blog has to be somewhere. And
Right.
most of the times it's going to be on a website. It's not going to be on a live journal from 2001. It's going to be on a website somewhere. So they're going to have a domain, and that blog is going to rank. So you're putting in that much effort, you might as well put in a couple more pages and make it fun. But if they don't want to have a website, if you're an e-commerce solution, you're going to need a website. You're going to have something eventually. Because you're not going to want Etsy to take all your money. You're not going to want some of these other eBay, all these other things. They take a lot more money than any payment gateway over time. You could quickly, the money you would spend to build a professional website, if you're doing enough volume on eBay or one of these, over time, it's going to be worthwhile for you just to build your own website. Unless you're selling antiques that are unique. eBay does have its place, but so does Etsy, so to speak. I mean, the example of the crocheting, that would be maybe an example for Etsy. But again, they're starting to hammer these people with fees. But you have to have something. So you need a blog, you need an Etsy store, you need something. You can't sell anything online if you don't have a platform to do it. So you should. And that's that. It's easier to have a domain that's just a blog. That's frankshirtsandhats.com. It's easy to remember. I can tell people about it now when I'm in Williamsburg, Colonial Williamsburg. I could give a card. But if it's like etsy.com / blah, 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 Frank52796, whatever, then it's going to be annoying to say. It's not going to fit on a business card. So, might make it easier for you to have a URL with just a blog on there where you could tell the world hello. Yeah. All right. What else we got? Anything else? Happy to answer questions.
This is your chance, folks.
All
This
right.
might be not really a stupid question, but as I said, I'm not internet friendly. When I refer to myself that I have a shop on Etsy, you just said something about etsy.com / and then you give the name of your shop. Oh, I never did it that way. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, you can, and some are short, some are not. I mean, Etsy will assign you an ID, so that's the slug in the URL.
That's how I would refer to it if I'm telling somebody to go etsy.com.
Yeah, you have to figure out what your store page is, and it might be etsy.com / Marie Perry Edwards.
Right.
It might not be Marie Painting 4797 if you didn't assign anything.
No, it's Marie's Artistic Design. So that's what I would put in there. I didn't
And then-
know how to write it. Right.
That might
Okay.
that might suffice for you,
Okay.
So that's a good option that you could do. And then you could, you put it on your Instagram you're going to make. We talked about put it on the about. Yeah, you get one link with Instagram. That one will be a good one. Link in bio, because you can't put it inside the captions of the individual posts. And then,
So how do you write it for Instagram? You say Instagram and then you put Marie's Artistic Design?
yeah,
Oh,
it'd be the handle of your name. Yeah,
Gotcha.
or whatever. Yeah,
Gotcha.
your username is. Yeah.
okay. Thank you very much.
No
Learn
problem.
a lot tonight. It's a lot.
I know. Every time I give one of these presentations, I need more than that. I'm doing a lecture next week at a trade show, and that's going to be a lot of not a lot of breathing I'm going to do.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
There's
Okay.
a chat for you.
Yeah, I see. Do you offer e-commerce services for startups? Yes, we do. We offer services for all types of businesses, big and small. In other words, could you help a business to build an e-commerce with a very slim budget? Yeah, absolutely. Shoot me an email. I'll send it again here, and we'll have a conversation, a discovery conversation to talk about your goals, your budget. You know, not again. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. I'm the kind of guy when I meet with somebody prospective with the SBA, if I think it's a good fit, I think it's a good fit. If not, you know, I give you some guidance and you be on your way. All right. I don't know that we have any more questions, it seems like. So I guess thank you everybody for listening to me talk for almost 2 hours in the evening. It was a lot of fun. Had a good talk. We said a lot of great things. I know there's a lot of verbiage in that presentation, and I know some of it seems a little foreign and alien, especially if you're not super computer savvy to begin with. But there is some takeaways there. At the end of the day, what I tell people, a lot of that marketing jargon, or just a lot of the things in general, like I started talking about hosting, and I'm giving you a grand overview, URLs, what to do, best and worst practices. The reason being is this way you go at it. I don't expect anyone to be experts on hosting. I just want you to know what to look for when you're looking at hosting. Okay, what's a good thing to get? What's not a good thing to get? From an SEO standpoint, how do I determine whether I'm being successful or not if I'm paying someone, whether it be a professional company or a kid in the basement? What are some of the questions I should ask? So that was the real takeaway there. Don't expect for anyone to be master web designers or developers. I don't knit, you know, I'm not a painter, Marie. So, you know, just take some of that with you, some of that guidance, and hopefully you'll find some success there. Thank you so much.
You're going to get the slide deck. You're going to get the recording. So anytime you want to go back to it, you can, which is, you know, could be nice to do later on. So thank you so much, Frank, for coming. And thank you everyone for attending. And we have another presentation in 2 weeks that is going to be a recorded session that you will receive by email. You'll get the recording. It's a little different format for the last session. And then we have the graduation on June 16, where you're invited, everyone, whether or not you want a certificate of completion, just if you want to network and meet people, be outside the Newburgh Free Library under the awning there. So it'll be really nice. And you'll all get an invitation, including you.
Nice. Also, I want to say thank you, Ellen. I know you were not able to speak, but she is on with us. Thank you, City of Newburgh, and Chris Morgan, who's amazing hosting us every single time. And I truly appreciate it. Frank, that was absolutely wonderful. I learned so much. And I thank you all. Thank you all for coming, and see you again in 2 weeks.
One quick question. The last meeting, I had an emergency and it happened just before, so I missed it. Can I still recap that? Can I still do that? Okay.
Yes, you can.
Yes.
Okay.
All the recordings are all on the Newburgh Free Library website. You'll get the link tomorrow to that page.
Oh, beautiful.
If you want,
Also, I'm sorry, Miriam, but if she wants to get the certificate,
and if you
can
want to count it
ask
for
questions, right?
you have to fill out this assessment, which is just a few questions to see that, for us to know that you've actually done it.
Okay, well, that part is not
It's all in
important.
the email that's going to be sent to you.
Okay, thank you so much, and I appreciate it, ladies. Okay, thank
Very
you.
well.
All right.
Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful night.
You too. Thank you.
Stay cool this weekend.